I feel I have a privilege to do what I love. It's kind of doing my hobby for work. But it's not only, black and white. It would be impossible to talk about everything. So I will do a short Q&A and talk about some cliches that are there in the society about chefs and about my personal experience and advice. So let's get to the first question. What do we do with the products we don't sell? So unfortunately, there are a lot of things that get wasted, but it depends if you work on service or in the bakery. So in the bakery, you can give it to staff, you can give it to charity, you can reuse it for something to create something new. Yeah, mainly you end up going home with pastries or bread or things like that. But if you work in the restaurants, you may reuse it for tomorrow's staff food, or if you can use it, you use it. If you not, unfortunately, you bin it. Next one. How can I know if a pastry shop sells freshly made produce or gets frozen pastries and bake them in the morning? First of all, you don't need to think that if you don't make pastry from scratch in the place, it's bad. And sometimes you have a production kitchen where you deliver pastries across the city. So for example, if you have 5 shops, so of course you probably will do one big kitchen and you will deliver early in the morning. So I don't think it's bad business model. And go to the core of the question, you just need to simply ask if the pastries are being baked here or delivered, because front of house would never lie. At least they shouldn't, because you are the one paying. Next one. I have an impression that large-scale bakeries use cheap products, flour, and play with the ingredients to make everything cheaper. Is it true? So from my experience, I can say it is not true, because we get special deliveries from big suppliers, which means that the products are not widely available and they're quite selective and they're very good. But of course, depends on the place and depends on the manager who decides what to buy and where. If you start selling low quality food, people will notice that. So I think it's really hard to cheat on that. How often do you take breaks? Okay, this one is interesting because, again, it's a restaurant and bakery is 2 different things. So when I do 8-hour shifts in the restaurants, I tend to not to take breaks. Some places, they kind of force you to take a break, at least like 15 minutes, up to half an hour. If there is opportunity, if I see you can manage, yes, I would take it, but normally I don't. But if you do a double shift, for example, 15-hour shift, yes, it's like definitely you take a break and you go outside and get some fresh air, you eat. But in the bakeries, no, I never take breaks. I rather just do my work and go home earlier, if it's possible. Is it really worth a pastry school? This is a £1 million question. I did my pastry school and I think that it was worth, but when you start working, you realize that lots of things don't apply what you're being taught, because you adapt to different kitchens, adapt to people where you work. But overall, I think the pastry school is a very valuable experience and I wouldn't change that. But the most I've learned was in the production kitchens, in the restaurants, basically doing your job. Long story short, if you have opportunity to go to school, do it. And I really, really encourage you to go and do internships, working experiences, learn from others. That's super, super valuable. Yes, pastry school will give you the base, but work will give you confidence and more deep knowledge. Okay, and here I have some interesting and funny, let's say, cliches. All bakers are fat. Is it true? No, it's definitely not true. And I don't know what people think that we eat all the time. Yes, you need to try, but doesn't mean you need to eat an actual portion. And I find it very funny. And actually, I know lots of people who do different kind of sports. So for example, running to work, cycling to work, doing martial arts after work. Or I recently met one chef who is doing gymnastics, so he's like a walking, muscle. And myself, I love sports, and even after work, I stretch and do some exercise and just kind of release all the tension, like dancing Zumba. Another cliche that chefs always smoke and don't wash their hands. That's absolutely not true. As soon as I see chefs coming back, they just like rub their hands with the soap, wash it, and you don't even smell anything. Don't know why people think that you just come back from the break and you just touch your food straight away. Another one, we know everything about old foods. This This is also very funny. So imagine you work in a bakery and you specialize in venouserie, and day to day you do different kind of things, but they more or less the same in the end. So you are smashing the lamination, you are smashing creams, how to do finishing touches, but it's still, you're still in your bubble. So if you go to work in a chocolatier, you will start basically almost from scratch. So you cannot know everything. If you want to know everything, you probably learn all your life, or you learn super fast. But this kind of job is all about practice. So I will give you an example. This week I was in my Spanish class and my teacher was talking about exactly the same thing. And she said, oh, my friends are keep asking, how do I say this? What is this word? And she was like, I'm not a walking vocabulary. I don't know everything. And I thought like, wow, this is really how I relate things to. Like, yes, you can know and you can give advice, and I'm more than happy to do so, but we will not know everything. Oh, another one. It's very, hurts me a little bit. Cooking for chefs is difficult, as we may judge you. I heard that quite a few times, and I don't understand why people think like that. I would always appreciate homemade things. I'm always super happy to taste and see the effort the person makes to make a pastry or any kind of food. It's very sweet, I think. Chefs earn a lot of money. You think so? I think this job is done mainly from passion, because if you want to earn a lot, you don't go to work in the kitchen. Obviously, when you become like a head chef, executive chef, and so on, and if you work in a good, respectable place, of course. But let's check the official website. What do they say? Since I moved now to Spain, I faced a little bit different reality than in London. In London, obviously, I was paid much better, and obviously, in the restaurants, you get higher salary than in the bakeries. It would be really hard to go and force someone to do this job if you don't feel it. Or another one, you eat at work like a king. Sometimes you have breaks, sometimes you don't. And the fact that, for example, you work at steak restaurants doesn't mean you eat a steak. That's not happening. So you normally take your own food box, or you have staff food. Sometimes you just don't leave the kitchen, you eat very quickly in the corner or with the whole team sit down. Like here, of course, in a better paid environment like hotels, yes, this is like a massive staff food and it's really nice. So another thing that I wanted to address is nails. Most of the times the hands are very dry and I feel a huge discomfort showing my fingers or nails in public. You cannot wear rings, only wedding ring is allowed. So this one I just wear now because I didn't work today. But let's go to Bahamas and see what I have to say there. Thank you very much for a word, and I'm saying hi from beautiful garden. So in the kitchen you cannot have colored nails for obvious reasons. So since I'm on holiday, I allow myself to have a long and colored nails. I do it probably every 2 years or so for special occasion, for someone's wedding or things like that. But if you see this in the kitchen, it's not right. Now I'm going to enjoy the sun. Another thing that I wanted to address is yes chef phrase. Probably you hear that a lot. Maybe it sounded a bit fake, but people use this a lot. It's more of the restaurant thing, more the hotel thing. When I moved from the restaurant to a bakery, and I thought like, oh, it wouldn't fit at all if I say this. Bakery is just more relaxed and more simple. Normally you address it by name, or even those who are head chef, you call it by name. So first thing is being isolated and sometimes feeling alone. But why do I say that? Because you most commonly do on social hours, so you end up being the person behind the scenes preparing all that. So don't take it as a bad thing, but you just being there for a long time. And when you have your days off, then means the rest they don't. You normally plan the weeks ahead, at least that's what I was doing in London. You cannot just text the day before, it's impossible because you need to organize your rota. If you want to have a free evening, you need to request that. So it can be, a little bit challenge to your friendship and your couple, but if you understand each other very well, that's not a problem. So there are two quite strong pollution factors in the kitchen. For example, a strong noise pollution and strong smell pollution. So when you use all this equipment, oven, shouting, it's super noisy and so much going on in the kitchen. And another more smell. So for example, if you work at steakhouse, it means that you will get a smell of, something fried, charcoal, or I remember very well when I was coming home, my husband was saying that, oh, you smell like, like a grill or like a charcoal. So one more thing which I think is very, very hard to handle is hot days in the kitchen. So of course, if you have a fancy kitchen with a nice AC, it's not a problem. If you're not, get ready your towels, you get ready with your cold water. You need to hydrate yourself very well. That was really, really hard experience. Thankfully in London that didn't happen too often, but here in Madrid I am a bit worried, but hopefully everything will be fine. First of all, and very, very important, be curious about everything you do in the kitchen. Be curious, ask questions, try things, even though you fail, try again. I think repetition is the mother of the skill, and maybe it's hard to see that now, the value, but it will definitely be in the future. One more advice is always have a hand cream in your bag. After work in the kitchen, it's kind of not a luxury thing to have, it's a necessity to have in your bag. And of course, I want to finish this video with a happy note. I think it's very important to be a good friend with yourself. I know the hospitality is about serving others, but if you don't look at your own needs and your values, it will be very hard to continue. So all this advice, I think, leads to one important thing, that be passionate about what you do, because this work cannot be forced. It comes from your heart. So that was my quick overview about chef life. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have more questions, please let me know in the comments down below. We're happy to read them and we can answer them together. So stay curious, stay passionate, and thank you very much for watching this video, and see you next week.